Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another transfer market metrics by Anfield Index. People, there are links galore, aren't there? Attackers, defenders, midfielders that come in all shapes and sizes. And when they come in all shapes and sizes, they come with very different metrics. And when they come with very different metrics, there is only one place to go to. I'm sure you'll welcome me as ever to a man who we love to hate, partly just because of where he is right now and enjoying the sun, and we're not. But what temperature are we talking over there?
Apparently, we're entering our winter and it's 25 degrees. So, apologies. Yeah, so.
Winter 25 makes you sick, doesn't it? There you go. But, ladies and gents, we will get right into it for you. 3 players on the docket, a fullback, wing-back, probably, if we're honest, a centre-half, and a midfielder. Could he be the one that we've been looking for? We'll have to see when we delve into those metrics. But we'll get into the first one straight away, Bart. Jeremie Frimpong, Leverkusen. Now, under Xavi, we all know Xavi, naturally. They play a back 3, which means by nature, Bart, he plays in a 5, doesn't he? Or the right wing back. So it's a different structure completely to what we play. People are jumping on the fact that he did his Scouse impression when he greeted Gravenberch and VVD this week at the Dutch camp. So maybe people are looking on that. I don't know too much. But we do know from digging around, this is a player that's been seriously looked at. And it's important we put these facts on the docket as well. Would qualify as homegrown because of his youth past, where he's come from, City, etc. So that goes in. And a release clause. And no one likes release clauses like Liverpool Football Club. So around, it's believed to be the 33 million quid mark. Those are 2 pros. I might be wrong on this, Bart. You might be about to list some stats that fall into the con column. But we'll run the usual, people, and we'll get the analysis.
Yeah, that price is... Yeah, that might change my overall opinion on him. But anyway. We'll start with the usual, where he's playing time. So we've generally got, I think he's become a starter, hasn't he, for under Xavi last season, which they were largely probably about second best side in Europe, maybe. Undefeated, but they were very, very true. They weren't in the top competition, which is why I think you definitely classify them as being the best team in Europe. But anyway. They won the league. First time Bayern haven't done it in donkey's years, so fair play to him. He clocked up 2,500 minutes, which is good in terms of 90 to 25 out of 31. So started two-thirds of the games. So good. This season he's at 1,800, so a little bit down. It probably come in around the 2,000 mark, I imagine, because they're out of Europe. They're out of Champions League, I think, and they're out of the German Cup's finished. So it's literally league games to go. So not a bad set of minutes for him to then kick on. As you can see, he quite rightly noted he's been at Celtic, he's been at City, so there are some homegrown, some elements in there which would help you out. So he has got 1,400 minutes in the Premier League, for example. So interesting. In terms of what does he do, because we are looking at a more, I think it's fair to say, attacking-based fullback. Yeah, that'd be fair to say. Attacking. If you're a 5, you're going to be asked to go and do a lot of the help up top. So just trying to find a bit now. He's got some good stats about him, I think. Here we go. So assists this season, he's got 5 in the Champions League. In the winning side, he had 7. If we topple that per 90, which is what we try and do, so he has got 119. So that's less than his previous 2 seasons so far. Okay, so he needs to probably improve on that slightly. In terms of XG, if we top of that, he's down from last season. So last season he was 0.33. So that's a drop off, do we say? And he might be doing a few different things, but that also could be because Leverkusen aren't on such a massive roll
True.
When you get there, you know, it's like we've watched top sides go on 18 games unbeaten run. You just turn up and things just happen and players carry on. So there could be a bit of a momentum about that. But if you combine all of those together, top of penalty, non-penalty goals and XG is on 0.37. All right, considering we normally set our forwards at about the midpoint, 0.66, 0.65, going out to 0.7. He's at 0.3. Okay, for a fullback. Yeah, and what I will say, I'm not going to compare him to Trent, because that's just unfair. No. You know, Trent is a wonderful, wonderful footballer, and I do hope he gets to see the game play for us. But what he does, and our system is decided to enable him to do, you're not going to find another footballer. So what I will do for this comparison purposes is I will compare him to Bradley when we get to that point. So if we look at our percentiles as we normally do, we're using the fullbacks tab here because we're going to buy him as a fullback, right?
Yeah.
People might be like, oh, that's a bit unfair. But we will profile players to fit Liverpool, not a thing that they are currently doing now. So as a fullback, I mean, they're not the greatest set of defensive metrics, I would say, in the world, are they? 16th percentile for areas one. Even for our fullbacks, we would be expecting them to be in the 75th, 80th percentile. Okay, so I will check the exact percentage coming up, but that's not a good sign for asking our fullback, particularly in the Premier League, where if you overhit a cross, it'll go to the back post. You see Robbo struggle with that week in, week out, and there's a player nipping in the back trying to put it in. That is why you need a fullback able to do that. And you also, because of the way we set up zonally, you need to have 4 good defenders to operate that zone effectively on set plays. So that's not a good start. Clearances, okay, that could be down to the way they play. I'm prepared that 1%, 1% is extremely low, but equally that might be because of what he's not asked to do it and the volume he's asked to do it isn't a lot.
True.
If we look at blocks, you'd expect that to be a bit higher because even at playing further forward, you would be stopping a passing lane to their winger out. So that's not good. Interceptions, 3rd percentile is very low. Tackles, 9th percentile is very low. Typically, when we've done this, one of these 3 comes out of being in the green. Okay, so for none of them to be in the green suggests that the boy doesn't do a lot of defending. Now, some of that might be system orientated, but that's still, they are incredibly low percentile. Okay, so if we look at though what he does in between the boxes, which should be where he shines, right? The wing back typically operates between the 2 boxes. Okay, so progressive passes received, that's when he's up high, receiving a ball from deep, 99th percentile. Brilliant. Okay, about 10 a game. That's awesome. Okay. We look at touches in the penalty box for a fullback, 99th percentile. Brilliant. So he's getting up. He's in and around the hot zones we talk about in that half space. Brilliant. Take ons, 80th percentile. That's incredibly high. That's really good. Okay. Progressive carries. So he likes to carry the ball. Robbo. Yeah, Robbo likes to carry the ball. He's not absolutely. He's not going to pass it. Passing, low. 76th percentile. 76%, sorry, 34 percentile. So if you're going to carry the ball, that's fine, but your completion should still be high. Robbo's pass completion will still be high, even though you won't attempt that much, right? Trent's will be this level because he tries the risky ball. This guy isn't trying the risky ball because he's in the 4th percentile for progressive passes. So yeah, that's something to look out for as well. But what does he do in the box? So non-penalty goals for a fullback, 95th percentile. Great. Non-penalty goals, 99th percentile. Shots, 98th percentile. So he takes nearly 2 shots a game. Bear in mind that's Nunes levels.
Yeah.
Right. That's not bad. Be fullback to be doing that. Assists, 0.21. We've said 89th percentile for fullback. So that's around what we want. Combining that all up, so what does he do for shot creating actions? 84th percentile for a fullback. So there's attacking wise, he is very good. He's like the lad at Jeremie when at the top. In Spain.
Gutierrez, wasn't it? Yeah.
Gutierrez, yeah. But just check out his aerial rate, just to because that'll bother me otherwise. Miscellaneous. Aerial 34% for this season. His highest is 50. That's below a level we don't expect for a fullback.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm not going to compare him to Trent. We'll just look at it for Connor. I mean, that's pretty much the polar opposite.
Yeah.
So the bits that Connor isn't good at, Frimpong is. So, and I say good at, people please don't shout at me. Connor's a good player, but we're comparing players that sound like it, right? So, Frimpong beats Connor in non-penalty goals, non-penalty XG, assist, which is like threat. Combine them two and shot creating actions. And he only matches up in terms of progressive carries to take on with Connor. Everything else, Connor beats him on. So percentage of error was 1, beats him. A percentage of dribblers at him, he wins that battle. He wins passing, he wins that battle. So Connor is also a carrier of the ball, right? But he's got a far, look at his passing completion here, far in excess. That's almost 20%, 30% percentile higher than Frimpong. So, and again, we don't typically get in panic stations, but he's already got clearances better than Frimpong. Blocks the passing lane better. So there's a lot to Connor's game that is very different. So it's hard to see how this fella would fit in, but we always say the club have access to our data, which we might not have. All right. If we look at the stuff that I will do, so he's typically playing this right-hand side. So he's involved in Liverpool don't have the similar pattern of build, right? So we would typically see a triangle here, whereas they've gone with a standard square into their 10, and then the 10 will try and link up elsewhere. So it's a different build profile. I mean, this is continuing. Again, this is almost 70 minutes of play. There's still not a lot of triangles formed there for the right-hand side, which would be something to think about. In terms of how often he receives the ball, that's about 2 touches or 2 passes every other minute. Not too bad. He's the out ball. Level of build-up, he's only involved in very low, which is below five passes per move, right?
Yeah.
Our fullbacks are involved a lot longer. Our fullbacks are used to being recycling. So, when we're on top, we'll go back to a recycle U. This is something he isn't necessarily used to. Now, considering he's really high, you might think, well, what's he like? Does he offer passes in zone 14 or the half space? No. 2 passes. Considering that's where he would spend a lot of time, that's not a great deal of activity in there. EPV, so what does he do when coming the other way? He did stop 100% of threat the other way. That's fine. Threat location for him will be down this area here. It's not particularly high. So it's not looking great in terms of what you're off doing it. In terms of what's he doing the other way, there's 70% of duels in his area, but remember to play 3. So these 3 areas will be covered by so your defensive left half, and right half space will be covered by a centre half and a sweeper in the middle. So that will enable just the fullback/wing back to operate in the wide channel. So they should have a more concentrated area to do, which, it's still at 17%. Okay, so that's a really high volume. So they do target that area, which you'd expect. But he's offering things. We say he's not shying away from it. XG, he did get a goal in this game. So that's not too bad. In the just after half time, and he helped create XG in set pieces and regular play. So on the ball operates in areas that you'd expect for his position, but the build phase isn't necessarily in a way that we are used to doing at the moment. So you might have to get used to that. Defensively, very different, very concentrated on being wide because he's got 3 inside to help him out. And the position he takes is probably a little bit higher than we're used to. But if we look at him from an individual profile, dual success of 42% in this game. So, okay. So he was involved in 14 duels and won 6 of them. So, I think we'd be able to go at Robbo, to be honest with you, or Trent if he was that low.
True.
Pass success in this game is 71, which is higher than his average, but still it's not great. He did create 17% of the team's threat, though, which that's pleasing. Trent is higher than that, but that gives you an indication. But then it's also to do with opportunity. Plays higher up, so he should be able to do it, but he's in a wider area. So there are some things to like about him. He operates in this wide area here. And in terms of all the metrics looking at him, he's pretty much bang in line for his position on average. So it's not pulling dots out. So I think it's interesting. The only other layer we can add on, because we've got Bundesliga,
physical.
We've got some physical data. So he's got a top speed of 36 Ks, which is pretty quick. It's quicker than I would say both our fullbacks at the moment. He has high intensity runs at 16.25 in what did I say, about 25 starts for that. So not a bad number. Distance to 200. So that's under 10k a game, which is we would normally suggest that we're carrying that because most of our players do about 10k a game. Although we have started to step off the second half of the season, but that's still a little bit low for us. And sprints is just short of 800, so again, that's about 4 or 5 a game. So he's incredibly quick. He has 67 crosses, so across the number of games he's played in, that is less than 5 a game. So interesting, a low crossing site, but then you would have seen that with the build with a square, it wasn't looking for him to get in high, so different. So an interesting profile. Takes the same number of shots a game than some of our forwards is probably something to be thinking about, whether you want your fullback to be doing that. But I mean, what's the price? It's £30 million. It would be a very different option to what we've got. Very different option. And I think you'd have to learn a bit to play in our system. But then again, if Trent's not here, we're going to have to switch system anyway, so it might be something different.
Yeah, it is a tough one. When the pros are that stark, it's interesting, and we're talking rapid 36, but when the cons are that bad and the defensive metrics are just that low, it doesn't really fit. And as you said, Bart, you've got to remember people, he played in a wing back, isn't he? It's a completely different ask, a different system. So, it is hard to see this one. Interestingly enough, a few comments coming in, so thanks for sharing this. PJ Tapper saying the right back from Feyenoord looks more interesting. Funnily enough, Young Reed may be on Bart's homework list. You'll have to keep an eye out for future episodes that way. And Helio Matthias there saying, when did Slot use a hyper-offensive right back in his system the last time? Frimpong is fantastic, but more a pass version of Trent with a lot more defensive duties. And ultimately, Bart, for this, does it come down to, and I know people will talk about, but Trent plays passes, Trent bombs on, Bradley's responsible for just bombing on and hitting the line, going past Mo Salah. But there's a lot more to that than playing as a Liverpool fullback, isn't there, on the right?
100%. I mean, to be fair, Connor comes inside a lot more than people realise. If you look at his touch maps, he doesn't stay wide at all. He's tasked with very much driving into midfield and going and ended up in and around the space between the forward and Mo. And he occupies people. Sometimes he gets on the end of a border behind and pulls it across, but generally occupies people. So therefore, Mo is freer. He's 1v1. It's different. Trent, this season, has been deeper in his approach. In a lot of games, he's inverted beautifully, to be honest with you. We've gone in and he's inverted into midfield and he's dominated the game from them. There has been games when he's played high and wide, but that isn't as much. If you look at his average touch rate for a season, it's not as high and wide as previous. So I think Frimpong is ultra high up there. I think this would be a change. How would it work into an Arnie slot system? It has got. You could think maybe it goes back to the early Klopp slides where the fullback just have to bomb on and defend. Maybe there's just question marks on whether or not Frimpong can actually do the defensive part. You don't really want to end up with an Alvaro Moreno playing right back. It's just for all of Moreno's abilities going forward, it was always his defensive half that was questionable. So, yeah, I think given you're going to get this player in, he's got a summer to get this guy up to speed. And if we're all reading the tea leaves correctly, this guy would have to start. That seems quite a large jump to get him to work in an eyes. Not just that he's a brilliant coach, but given the docket of work you might also have to do, this might be a lower down the priority kind of like, right, if I have to, I'll get this player, but I'll see if I can do something else, because the tweaks to our attacking setup, as we touched upon in the last on the pressure pod, could be quite substantial. It's not quite as signing up, and I think that's a great point. If we sign Kirkes at left back, we are not signing another right back. Like you're doing one or the other.
They can't all go.
They can't all go, right? Because we're definitely not playing that way, because we're not going to sign a 6 like Fabinho. We're just not going to do that. If you want both fullbacks attacking on, you have to have a Fabinho type 6. We're not going to. I don't think we're going to sign that. The player that would fit with this profile is Hato.
Yeah.
Because then you would cover across. Hato would sit in a 3. Yeah, provided BBD and Konate start to stay, obviously. But there's a 3, and then Frimpong could do what you need to do. Yeah. Then you would need a left winger that is a bit more progressive, bit ideas, but without a bit more regular output to balance out the attack that way. So that could be a way we go, but that's a lot of ifs and buts and a lot of tweaks there. So yeah.
Which, let's be honest, people, works in the con column as well. So we file this under maybe not impossible, but difficult to see. So that is one Bundesliga player on the docket. And the second comes from the same country. I'm sure you've seen this one linked recently. This player, Nico Schlotterbeck, German international, left-footed centre-backs, which by their natures, Barts, can be unicorn-style players, can't they? Everyone wants a left-footed centre-back. Nowadays, they are not the easiest to come by. The one thing we don't like, probably, is I'm sure you see many of the articles. It could well be, as people are suggesting, if VVD goes. There's almost a bit of, do we even want this to come to fruition? But it is a solid link, and a lot of people are saying, yes, Liverpool have looked at him. Some pedigree. I know Dortmund aren't going well at the moment, Barts, but asking price with 2 years left to go, suggesting him Dortmund's current plight could be around sort of £35 million, which isn't small, but it's definitely not big money for a centre-half as well. So I'm intrigued to see what these stats say about Schlotterbeck. Yeah,
I mean, I think I always start with the minutes because our players have to play a lot of it, right? Yeah. So last full season, where Dortmund finished 5th, I mean, that's not great for them. When they came second as well, he did 2,200-ish. Last season, he did nearly 3,000 minutes. So he has pedigree. He's a 1.8, 1.9 now, so he'll top over 2,000 again. He's got the pedigree of 5 minutes, right? That's, I think, a no doubt. And he's been doing that for he must have had an injury 18, 19, 20. Previously, he's played always over 1,500 minutes. And for the last 5 seasons, he's clocked in over 2,000. Yeah, so I think he's absolutely fine with that. The one key stat we should always start with centre halves is aerials.
Please be above 65.
65.3.
Okay.
Just. So that's like Gomez levels. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So it's not what we would be used to, but it's not Kwanzaa, right? And Kwanzaa's learning, again, don't shoot me. It's just one of the weakest parts of his game is his ability to head the ball. So yeah, Kwanzaa's about late 50s, early 60s. Joey's right normally in the middle of the 60s, and this is where this lad is. And to be honest with you, bar a couple of seasons when he was at Freiburg, he had 75, which seems a bit of an outlier. He's generally in and around the mid-60s, which, okay, if he's not coming in as a starter, I could get on board with. If we look at percentiles, okay, there's a lot to like in this profile. There's a lot, right? Yeah. We start at the bottom. What's he doing in that box? So aerials, predictably, because it's a mid-60s and not a high 80s, he's going to be in a field with guys that have got 80, 90 percentile, right? He's going to come in at 25 percentile. So that's not great. He wins like less than 2 a game. Okay, so we've identified that could be an area of concern. Clearances, this is always about opportunity. So how does the team defend? If the team don't give you an opportunity to do a clearance, you're not going to score highly.
Yeah.
Okay. Blocks, that's always a good indicator of how well he is reading the game. So 78 percentile, good. Interceptions, again, can he get in front? Can he nick it? Can he predict play and make the right action? 57 percentile, not bad. Tackles, when he's needed to, how successful is he at ticking it? 87 percentile. So that's good. So again, 3 out of 5 defensive stats there. That's okay. They're good. You know, that's all right. Now, in between the boxes, we're centre half. Progressive passes received, 79 percentile. Makes me wonder who he wanders off to, I have to say, because to receive a progressive pass, you've got to be up there in the final third. So, anyway. Touches in the penalty box, 70, which means he probably goes up for all set pieces all the time, and he might carry the ball. Does carry the ball, 95th percentile, likes that. And progressive passes, he's got a ping in him as well with his left foot, BVDS, 99th percentile. So that's just short of 8 a game he attempts.
Wow.
Now that's just for context, people. That's the level BVD was doing into Mo in the title winning season.
Jeez.
He's come off that point. So BVD now punches into midfield or plays down the left or right a bit more. But even at the weekend, one of the few times we got Mo in the game against Newcastle was a BVD massive switched out to him. Yeah. So that's a really good stat to have in your locker if you're a left side centre half in our current system. Passing completion, 89 percentile. Wouldn't expect that to be anything below. So that's good. I mean, our centre half's generally low 90, to be fair. Passing attempted, 97 percentile. Again, you are the backup. You're there doing the recycling. So he's not great to be part of that. Attacking wise, he's not going to score a lot of goals. So to be in the 19th percentile for non-penalty goal, okay, fine. Shots total, 66. Again, he's not going to take shots on. Shot created actions, 19th percentile for a centre half. He's good. Okay.
Yeah.
So comparison. Yeah. I put this up against Gomez because it's likely that Gomez is going to be the one that leaves, right? If we're all happy with it, we all ignore the contract signing situation and the rest of it. Gomez is the likely one to go, right? Is that fair?
Yeah. Fair.
So I've compared him with him. Gomez, as you can see, only outperforms this lad on progressive passes received, and that's largely because Gomez is probably our system allows for that a little bit. Okay, so Gomez does wander into midfield a bit. So there you go.
Plays fullback sometimes as well, to be fair.
He plays fullback at times, yeah. So that's different, right? Aerials one, as I've said, Gomez outperforms this lad. Okay. But otherwise, as you can see, this lad outperforms Gomez. So not a bad profile. If the news is to be believed, that's him versus Van Dijk.
Okay.
Different profile. Again, Van Dijk beats him on aerials. Van Dijk beats him on goals and clearances, and Van Dijk on pass completion. But generally, the other metrics, he does okay against it, to be fair. Yeah. The blue is over the red there. Bully tax will come into this. Remember, multiply by 0.85 and it brings the metric down a bit. All right. But still, there are some signs there. All right. But the big key one that we always say with centre halves, aerials in the Premier League is a huge thing, right? We did the lad at Bournemouth, right? And he was low 60s aerials. It's the same problem. That the only way we solved that problem, not being able to defend in the box, is by buying players who could defend the ball away. So I would be really surprised if we're not looking at this going, right, okay, we'll get there. So that's some of the off-the-shelf stats. Some of the bits I've picked up here. He's involved in the recycling here, so he's in the U, which is good. What we want to see. Nice. He's not going to be involved in that much passing, but he generally has about five touches of passes every other minute. So good. This is pleasing for me. He's involved in 3 types of build level. So the low build, so that could be the switch. Yeah, the medium 5 to 10. So that's the kind of patient. Go for it. And then the medium. So the next one up, which is 10 to 15, which is basically we've got the lead, we're going to recycle, right? So he's involved in all 3 phases to that, and that's for me. That's a good thing for him to be involved in. He's also, strangely, got some passes into zone 14 and half spaces, which again is pleasing, So for a centre half, it's something different. If we look at threat, how did he defend threat? So he only defended 55% of the threat he faced, so it's a little bit of a worry. Defensively off the ball in his area, so you're in left side. So that is for 16%. That's 20% there of the defensive actions he would have done. So that's a good indication for them. Quite pleasing to be fair with that. So on off the ball, involved in play, some surprise elements in terms of what he can do with the ball, in terms of operating in the different phases of their build, and also offering a pass into the key attacking zones that we normally aim for in a game. We look at how he is as an individual player. Dual rate of 50% is a little bit low, not going to lie to you. Yeah. Aerials in this game was 75. That's all right. That's good. 10% of our APV. So of that team's APV. So yeah, there are some things to like. If you look at his overall wagon wheel, how was he doing? Bang on the money for all the metrics. So for a defensive average. So yeah, there are some things to. There are some positives. I'm not going to lie, but the area was worrying me. What's he like in terms of his speed? 32. That is quite some speed for a centre half.
Nippy, yeah.
That is nippy. General distance, that sort of you wouldn't expect him to do a lot of that, and you're not expecting him to do a lot of high speed runs. But when he's asked to, he's hitting at fairly decent speed. So and the Buddy have got 90% pass completion. So that's a different colour. That's just for Bundesliga games. So there are some things to like about the Greek lad from Dortmund.
This one though, Bart. I mean, as we're talking through there, and the comments are flying in, people. So thank you for sharing those. Helio Mattia saying, I've seen him many times. I'm a fan, but lately eyes open for Huijsen at Bournemouth. Huijsen only 19. Schlotterbeck will be 26 next season as well. Almost similar in certain ways, the way they profile, maybe in terms of good on the ball. Aerial, there's a bit of a question mark against it. And probably my favourite comment of today from Till Sheen, shout out, Dave could be a TV presenter. He's brilliant. I don't understand why I doesn't have more subs. I agree with you, Till Sheen. Not a wrong statement in there at all, my mate. But for this guy specifically, the pros are stark, as in there's a lot to that, and he's progressive, he's build up, he's involved in their attack. Dortmund trying, play good attacking football. He's got a ping on him, clearly. Left-footed, all that's good. The price point, because he'll have 2 years left to go in the summer, build especially suggesting it'll be around sort of the 30 to 35 million mark. So if Gomez is going to go, it doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world for this boy and can play left and all that. I totally appreciate. But so that's maybe a consideration. If it's VVD going, this ain't the boy though, is it?
No. This is 100%. Like, I mean, you give me a name, I'll look at it and I'll tell you whether I think you're nuts or not, and I'll look at the profile. But I did the profile for this, expecting him to be third choice to replace Gomez. If you'd said he's coming in to replace BBD, I said you're bonkers. It's just, that's night and day. And you'd have to, and I know I've already said this with our previous player, but without Van Dijk, the changes we would have to make to our defensive setup are massive. And this is not a guy you go and do that for. Right? He's rapid, yes, fine, but the aerial ability is huge. That's a huge factor in how we dominate Premier League games. And a future stat show we've got coming up on defenders will show you exactly how that metric for Van Dijk does not really change, irrelevant of partner. And that's a really important point for our team. And it's the fundamental moment in time in our recent history changed when Van Dijk signed because we stopped being weak headers in the box. And you cannot just go, yeah, it's okay, we'll swap him out and put someone who loses 20% at the 20%. It doesn't win as much as Van Dijk, but needs 20%. Yeah, so as a replacement Van Dijk, not a chance. As a replacement for Gomez, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, so we have to think, people. Gomez, if it's him, there's a lot to like there, to be fair. There's a bit of variety in him and as an option as well. But like Bart said, you can't have had Matip, Van Dijk, Konate, aerial beasts, and then change the nature of your starting centre-backs. You just can't do it. So, yeah, there's that to consider at the same time. So that is your two Bundesliga boys, Bart. And we're going to go a bit closer to home. And this is a player that me and you have had our eyes on for a while. And naturally, there's been interest since last summer. And Simon Jones of the Mail even said in recent weeks that Real Madrid have been looking at this boy, but Liverpool have him on their radar, even if it's uncertain if they will make a move for him. Sure, people familiar with the name, Adam Wharton, Crystal Palace, England now international, capped, left-footed, midfielder. Not important to say, Bart, to set the scene. Not a natural six by any means. We're not pretending that, but has played in a double pivot. I know Palace don't play that naturally, and Will Hughes has been there, but there has been a bit of variety under Glasner. That's important to say. Few injuries. Let's do the normal routine for Adam Wharton and make a call.
Yeah, so English, young, all those things tick the box. And I will try and put aside the fact that I do like that. Minutes played. He's had a bad season this time, so minutes played because he's been injured, right? He's only got 800 minutes and we're in the tail end of the season. And he's not going to, he's going to lucky to clock in anywhere near 1,500. So that's going to be a low amount. And he hasn't really hit an amount. He hasn't done over 2,000 minutes yet. And he's in his 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons. So, that would be concern's a bit stretched, but you'd have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
I don't think you could expect him to come in and play the level of games that Grab's fallen over that. He can't. He's barely able to do what he was doing at the beginning of the season. Tactically, and also he's just knackered, right? Wharton would have died at Christmas if we'd asked him to do that, right? So you just got to take that caveat with it. What does he do in terms of goals and assists? So from the position he's in, 0.3 is about average for him. All right, so it's not brilliant, it's not bad. Remember, he's playing at base midfield, and again, Palace don't have a lot of the ball. Right, they don't have a lot of opportunities to do really fancy attacking stuff. The style of play has changed, but yeah, you really want to look at stuff like when he was at Blackburn, which is a bit more attacking. He had 0.7, which is a better return where he was in terms of assists. When he was at Blackburn, he was at goals and assists of 0.23 per 90. So that's good. There's some really good numbers when he was at Blackburn. So it shows you that when he plays in a more attacking side, he potentially could give you that output.
Yeah.
Just with Palace, he's not really asked to do that. Not knocking him, Palace fans listening. I'm just saying it's a different style of play.
The truth.
But the truth, if you look at his percentile, so the bottom box here is kind of what we want to look for, right? So aerials is not great. 31st percentile, which just to put that out where we are with Australia stats. Down the bottom, here we go.
Big lad as well.
33. He's a big lad. 33, 36, 40. So that, let's be kind, 40% dual rate. We normally require our 6 to be a lot higher than that. We normally require it to be like level with our worst centre half, right?
Yeah.
The Grab is in and around that at the moment. So that's an area of concern. It's not as important as a centre half, but it's still important because he's normally the shield in front. So when the centre half wins the ball, it'll fall into this pocket here.
Yeah.
And the 6 or the double pivot are charged with either pressing to win it or clearing it again. All right, so that's why it's important to do that. And on set plays, he again would form the second row. So you need to be able to have that aerial ability in there. Clearances, opportunity knocks, Palace defend a lot more. So 74% for clearances. Blocks, not so great, okay. But interceptions and tackles, so he's good at reading the play and nipping it. But there's also an element where if the six has to go to ground, he might be covering up someone else's mistake or his own mistake, right? So there's a bit of that, okay? Between the boxes, I think it's fair to say he's a passer. So progressive passes, but his pass completion, considering we all know after the mid 80s is our bog standard, or 82%, 77% part is fairly low from midfield to 50% up. So that would need to improve under us. Attended passes 50%, 50 percentile. So a game per 90, less than 50 passes attempted for a midfielder. That's incredibly low for us. But again, this doesn't take into account the amount of ball that Palace have. Yeah, so we generally make 600 passes a game, right? So you would expect him to have a lot more opportunity to do that potentially. But he's not going to take a player on, which is what Grab does. Sorry, he's not going to carry a ball. Grab does that. He doesn't. And he's not going to touch the ball in the attacking variables, which Grab doesn't either. So there are some things that we could be like, okay, they could be better, but you could also explain a little bit due to Palace's style of play. What does he do when he does get up there, though? Doesn't score many goals. He's a 6. Assists, though, 80%. Okay, so when he does offer something, 80%. So that's 0.16. That's not bad. That's in line with the 3.5 and Frimpong, to be fair. Non-penalty goals and assists in 72 percentile for a centre half. So there's some things in there. Less than one shot a game. What you'd expect. Okay, so if you compare him, as I said, this is him compared with Grab. Okay, so the first thing you should better see from that is they are like two halves of a same player. Right? Grab is clearly a carrier. We've seen that his signature move, which he hasn't been able to do for the last 10 games because offers have worked him out. When he turns, carries the ball, takes a player on, and has a touch. Those are all, and he receives a progressive pass from Van Dijk for doing it. They're all high for Grab. They're not Wharton's strength. Wharton is good at the actual raw stuff of creating assists, though he's also better at tackle interceptions, clearances, opportunity might knocks. Blocks Grab's better. Grab's considerably better at aerials. Okay. And he's considerably better at dealing with dribblers who come at him, if you like. So there are some things, and also Grab's pass completion is high. So, yeah, they could work together, perhaps, maybe.
Yeah.
Grab carrying it, Wharton passing it, maybe. Maybe the only thing I would say is that it might be that some of these are low because I know he's having a great season because he's been injured. So this could be that. Yeah, you're talking about this is over the last 365 days. Won't take into account the fact that he hasn't played much. It's just 365 days. So yeah, that's something to consider. If you look at the stuff that I run on him, so he is operating at the base. Palace, very, very different setup. All right.
Yeah.
If I showed you that for a Liverpool game, you would tell me that that's the worst performance you've ever seen in your life, right? But the triangle is with the goalkeeper and two of the centre halves and fullback. That it's not anywhere else. So the midfield are not generally tasked with doing a lot of that of the build. When it's a little bit further on, you see they're bunched together, the midfielders, and there are some triangle building. So, and he's on the ball for those. So there are some positives, but I would say the opportunity is maybe not there for Palace for him to demonstrate some of those abilities. That's why we've referenced his time at Blackburn. If you look at, he's on the ball every other minute, only fleetingly. He's not there taking control. And if you've got a midfielder who's having, up to 5 touches or passes every other minute, that's him really seizing the game. He's not doing that. He's in the low passing chain, so that's effectively gets it, gives it further up. Not really involved in the recycling play, but then Palace might not be involved in that. Pleasing thing, he does provide passes into the left half space, right half space in zone 14. So that's good. And that's also what we're saying on F3 as well. So that's a good thing to show. Threat, what did he do off the ball? So he stopped 48% of the threat coming at him. Again, that was shown in his success rate for grabbing at him was low. So something to be wary of. From his area, though, he gave Palace build through the wide from the fullback, from the goalkeeper, right? So not these areas here, it's low amount of EPB produced. So he's not really in the side to do that. Right or wrong, however you want to view that. Defensively, so these are his boxes here. So that is around 8-3-4-4. So he's got a fair amount of defensive action he's dealing with there. So off the ball, he does the work forward side. But again, they normally focus out, so that's 12% wide, so they push out wide to defend Palace on a whole. XG, you won't show up because it wasn't involved in any. If you look at his player profile, so this gives you an indication of what Palace ask him to do. He's only on the ball 10% of their time. That's really low.
Yeah.
Right. We ask our midfielders to be on, 15, nearly 20% of the time. And our forwards are on a lower amount of time. So that shows you where they want the ball to be. Having said that, because he's done progressive passes, in this game, he created nearly 40% of their threat.
Wow.
So limited ball time, brilliant output. Dual rate at 33% of the game wouldn't be acceptable for Liverpool going forward. And he's bang on the average for the metrics as well. So there are some things to like. I think he could be good in a double pivot. I think you said at the beginning he's not really a 6 on his own. I think there are indications he has a career of being able to play that role really well. I'd be creative to be on the ball. I just think because of his lack of minutes this season, being injured, not being in rhythm, and he's been in and out of the side with Will Hughes has played a lot of games, I seem to remember as well. So he has only got 10 starts in the Premier League this year.
Yeah.
So, it's not a great portfolio for this year. But if you look back through the seasons, he's been an ever-present for Blackburn in a successful season. He's had good seasons with Palace before. So I think you'd be looking at that as an overall picture. And I can certainly see merit in him playing next to Grav in a double pivot. I could see merit in that.
It's a funny one, isn't it, with Wharton? Because you're right. When you look at certain things, you've got question marks against the aerial. There's almost like a pro and con in each section. So you're thinking aerial 31%, blocks 37%, but then you're like tackles 92, clearances 74th percentile. So you're like, that's striking. You're thinking, like you say, the pass completion 77.7. You kind of that stands out. But then you also look and think progressive passes 7.91, 94th percentile a game. And he played a beautiful assist the other day in the Premier League. It really was good. And then, as you said, there's other things like just even his attacking metrics are things, and the shot creating action. So he is a progressive player. He's just not a traveller. I suppose you mentioned Grav there as well. If someone like, and I'm thinking that Mac, I know isn't a sort of pass, he's an all-round player, but even someone like Curtis in a double pivot who can pay there as well, because Curtis carries the ball so much and moves around. Could he dovetail, because he's left-footed as well? Even that, could that be a good dovetail?
Yeah, definitely. I think Curtis is almost he suffers because I think he can play all three roles. To larger or less degree. So Curtis playing the mould in which Klopp and Pep tried to get him to do, which was Big G effectively, could work really well with someone like Walter Adam. Could be really good. The physicality side of it would be interesting in those games. You'd have to pick it really well. the advantage of having someone like Adams come in and play as a pivot, it could move Mac further forward.
Yeah.
Which would unlock other areas of the pitch. Because, again, if you haven't got your main threat creator playing next year, you're going to need to find a way of creating threat.
Yeah, got to.
And one of those is you put a better midfielder further up the pitch. But if you're not playing Dom there, then you've also got to create a work rate for the rest of the side. So there's pros and cons with that, but they're going to have to find a way of tweaking that system to create more threat elsewhere. One of those could be you bring in someone like Wharton to play double pivot, and they give you threat from deep, as we've seen. You created 40% of their threat in that game. The Palace, like possession, that's really good. And that'll also enable you to play one of your other midfielders who've got that further up pitch. So it could be an interesting option. I can't remember what you said the price, but I imagine the price is not exactly cheap because it would Premier League tax all over it.
Yeah. PJ Thapper said a couple of things there. It'd probably cost over 80 million plus English tax. It'd be interesting because I would have said that easily last season, but maybe the injuries just shave a few million off it, although Palace are expected to sell Gay, so that it shouldn't be short of funds at all. It wouldn't be an easy deal. And he also mentions an interesting one. Lamine Kamara, that was a player we looked at in previous pods as well. And we also looked at Baleba, better defensive options to play alongside Grav or instead of him. And they do offer different things. I mean, we looked at those two profiles. I suppose Kamara had the concern around physicality, and then he's a small guy coming from the league, but we appreciate he could play in all three roles, which made him quite an intriguing proposition. Baleba, everyone's seen him for Brighton, very strong physically. You can easily see him in a Liverpool shirt. I understand that. It was actually his passing stats, I think, more than anything that would maybe be the question mark. Although, as we say, as we keep mentioning, we've got a lot of good passers, a lot of people that are good on the ball in midfield. So maybe a physicality is one to think there. I mean, it's probably an interesting one. You've done all three now. Kamara, Baleba, and you put Adam Wharton. I know you've always had a soft spot for Adam Wharton, and I have from what I've seen. And there's certain stats still really striking, but the cons are quite striking at the same time as well.
Yeah.
Who would you be leaning towards out those three from what you've profiled now?
I think I have to park my personal. I think if I'm looking at the stats right here, right now, my view has changed from last season. The guy, we did the show last season, last summer break, and I was like, we've got to sign Adam. We've got to get him in. We just got to buy him. And we did. Now, I would probably favour the lad of Brighton. The problem is that is going to cost you a lot of money. I mean, like, Bloom doesn't need any money. They don't need any money. So it's going to cost you a bit. Yes, he is a brilliant player. He would have probably had a lot of things for us.
Yeah, a lot.
But is that really what? I don't. Really not sure about it because that'd be 80 million plus, more than that. Whereas I think you're right. I think Adams' poor-ish season for Palace would bring the fee down a bit. So yeah, that'd be a tricky one. But I would probably be having recent games. So the three games where we haven't done well this year is where teams have gone man for man against us. Yeah, Everton, Newcastle. We got done man for man. So you would need a player like Baleba to come in and help that out. But then do you need him for the other 38% of the games? So you need to make sure that he's then also do what Grav has been doing, which is the problem. But I'm not sure he can because his passing is good. So that'd be my concerns with Baleba, although I could actually see a positive for signing him, as we said before. So I think if you've got the money for both, that'd be a good choice to make between the two of them. I think both of them would improve our options in midfield. I think that is without a shadow of doubt. Which one they go for, again, could go down to who stays.
Yeah, true. That's the tough bit as well, because there's only about 68 million things to do across the team, it seems, this summer. Forwards are going to have to come in, a left back in different bits. And we have to be honest on this. Are Liverpool going to spend big money on a midfield when actually you can argue that is the area that will probably require the least reinforcing this summer? But as you said, might come down to Endo, Harvey Elliott. You just get the feeling Harvey Elliott could be a big say in whether another midfielder comes in that regard of serious note, shall we say. But only time will tell on that one, eh? But there we go, ladies and gents. 2 Bundesliga players, 1 rapid, 1 great attacking. The only problem is a right wing back that can't defend has got a big question mark against him. 1 centre half, left footed, got a ping and a half on him, quick for a centre half, real pedigree in minutes. If he's replacing Joe Gomez, you're excited. If he's replacing Virgil van Dijk, you are terrified. And then finally, Adam Wharton. A lot to like. The pros are really standing out. There's a lot of green, as we've said there. Some really progressive natures, but some question marks against Ariel and other things. And for that price tag, it's hard to see Liverpool wetting their beak in it. And people mention others like we've previewed, Baleba, Lamine Kamara. Yeah, you wouldn't stick confidence on that. But there you are, ladies and gents. 3 we've profiled for you. 3 we've given you the stats on. 3 we've given real analysis for you. So as ever, all it leaves me to say is, Bart, for the time, the insight, for the stats, and for answering all questions, it is much appreciated, pal.
No worries, anytime.
And ladies and gents, that was another Transfer Market Metrics for Anfield Index.